Good day, my lorists. This is your lore report for the 2.0 announcement. It was a big win for lorists everywhere, so this is pretty long for a summary. We're gonna take a MiHoYo cheat and start with the version trailer, but I'm sure you've already seen it several times for yourself. So I'm not gonna be shy about butting in with commentary and picking it apart to see what we can glean about the Archon quest plotline. Then, since we were blessed with learning about the cultural influences for Inazuma, I'll visit what we learned about the backstories and personalities of each of the characters introduced, the history of the places they talked about, and Inazuman politics. I also went ahead and read the leaked lore for the new weapons and artifacts to evaluate their implications, so minor spoiler alert for discussing unreleased content. It's all marked in chapters, so skip to the bits you're interested in. I also posted my VOD of the livestream where I ended up narrating most captions if you'd like to watch the livestream without reading. Quick disclaimer that I have not looked into any leaks except the item lore, so some of my predictions or analysis may have already been confirmed or disproved. If you are up on the leaks, sorry for that if it be the case, but please don't point it out in comments. I'm trying to preserve the integrity of the storyline for myself. Let's get to work.
Mondstadt is the city of freedom, and Liyue is the city of contracts. As for Inazuma, it's known as the Nation of Eternity.
The almighty Shogun, focused exclusively on her single goal of implementing eternity.
I know of a way to introduce you to the Raiden Shogun. But before that, there is one other place I was hoping you both would accompany me to. When a person's ambition reaches a certain strength, the gods look upon them with favor. In other words, a person's vision represents their ambition.
It must be a possession, right?
I don't know whether the mention of possession is related to Archon quests or something else, but I don't know where to mention it, and I have to mention it because possession reminds me of Ajdaha reminds me of reincarnation, and with how much cycles come up, especially paired with mentions of fate and eternity, we need to be on the lookout for it.
I see. That reminds me. It seems that his vision was recently confiscated.
It's just like that feeling of emptiness.
Books!
The feeling that something is
Books!
missing.
They've just talked about visions being a representation of a person's ambition, that will driving them forward, and a feeling of emptiness when you lose it. If the possession is related to losing your ambition, it could be that being stripped of your vision leaves you susceptible to being possessed.
For to be stripped of one's vision is to be stripped of one's ambition. As one who is thrown into the sea,
Traveler gets thrown into the ocean? See these shadows, these looming, hulking figures? Remember what we've read about monsters in the dark sea whose alien power can corrupt the light of the seven?
It does nothing to prevent his descent into the depths.
Baller music.
The people's aspirations are being senselessly trampled underfoot. Thus, we cannot remain indifferent to this situation without also remaining indifferent to our own fate. Now, it is time for me to honor my word! Do not forget that challenging the Vision Hunt decree is tantamount to challenging a deity. When you are ready, go to Hanamizaka and look for a fireworks shop run by the Naganohara family. There, you will find someone who can help you.
Allow me to introduce myself. A festive reprise!
In addition to us, there is also the resistance on Watatsumi Island. Many who have lost or fear losing their visions have rallied together under Sango no Miya on Watatsumi Island to form a resistance group.
Remove all threats to eternity! By order of the almighty Shogun!
Adopted daughter of the Kudra clan of the Terrio Commission. She's also a general in the Shogun's army.
The resistance never betrays its own.
A ceremony, you say? Why would such a task be left to the Tenryo Commission?
The wait is over, my comrades.
Okay. Pay attention to the black and white frames here. A pyrovision flies in the air. Ether looks surprised. He flashes over to catch it. This looks pretty much exactly like the story that we got with Kazuha and his friend, no? It looks like we meet Toma right at the port. He's pyro color schemed, and this cute smile, his presence at our side when meeting Ayaka, implies that he's the first narrator in the trailer who gets us set up in the country. Then, we need an inciting incident to pull us into the all-out civil war brewing, and unfortunately, I think that means Toma dies. pretty early on. There's a pyrovision turning to dust and the black and white frames, both implying the death of a pyrovision holder. Toma, who seems to have a very endearing big brother personality helping us early on, is top candidate for a loss that would pull us into the plot after quickly forming a friendship with him. Ayaka, who we'll have already met courtesy of Toma, will then direct us to Yoimiya, and we will be firmly on the side of the resistance. There's not much to glean after that, except that we eventually end up on the island of the main resistance, and will be there when tensions come to a head in all-out civil war. Then, somehow we end up here. Something about the resistance never betrays its own, and we face a giant ball of bad. Act 1 is the same as the version Immovable God and the Eternal Euthymia, where euthymia is a normal, tranquil mental state or mood. It's often used to describe a stable mental state or mood in those affected with bipolar disorder that is neither manic nor depressive, yet is distinguishable from healthy controls. This is a translation though, so I take it more as the most accurate translation they could find for a mood than a diagnosis of Ball being bipolar. That said, we do have indications of dissonance in her character, what with the transience of lightning juxtaposed with her pursuit of eternity. I'm focusing on the tranquil mental state that is distinguishable from healthy controls, which sounds to me like she's pursuing an eternal state of tranquility without disturbance or variation. The driving question of the Archon quest is that lightning is transient, so why does the Raiden's conviction revolve around eternity? It stood out to me that Zhao told us it was a change. She did not always enforce eternity. So what is the deeper meaning behind this change in philosophy? The questions Zhao posed regarding her approach hints that perhaps we will relate to her goal and simply disagree with her implementation. Importantly, when Zhao talks about developing the history of Inazuma, he says, "From the sorrow of loss, obsession is spawned." The gods' philosophy and humanism were also somewhat influenced by these major historical turning points, which could be telling us that Ball's turning point from transience to eternity was her response to the tragedy of Conria. Inazuman characters were all designed with the words elegance, transience, and light in mind, which is interesting because, transience versus eternity. In the announcement, we met Raiden, cold and austere. Kamisato Ayaka, the daughter of the Yashiro Commission's clan, known for her Kuching-esque approach to nobility. She travels, interacts with the common folk, has a good sense of propriety, and a pure moral compass. She helps those in need, and Kazuha goes so far as to call her as perfect as a person can be. Beneath her elegant public-facing persona, she has a cute side that we'll likely get to see in her story quest. Yoimiya is the owner of Naganahara Fireworks, who sees eternity in the hopes and dreams of people hidden behind the fireworks. She's creative, has a high-achieving work ethic, and is very in touch with her inner child. While she's lively and jovial, she's also very thoughtful and responsible. Her animations are also baller. Do you see those acrobatics? Sayu is a mini ninja trained in mystical arts, who is anxious about how she doesn't grow. Since someone once told her that you grow when you sleep, she sleeps as much as she can. She's also our long-awaited Chibi Claymore user, which is just gonna be great. Toma, adorbs, observant, mature, with mysterious origins. He's the chief retainer of the Kamisato clan and seems to be very sweet. Kujo Sera is a Tengu warrior adopted in the Kujo clan and serving as the Tenryou general. She is loyal, well-respected, and charismatic. Sanganamiya Kokomi leads the resistance with a serene smile and wise military advice. They also mentioned a large underground area, which might be a mermaid land that Kokomi originates from. The brawn to her brains, Foxboy here, is Kokomi's general. Goro becomes more fierce as the battle goes on, and is dependable in critical moments. Yaimiko is the Narukami Shrine Maiden, elegant, beautiful, cunning, and intelligent. Shout out to all my chatters for being far more knowledgeable in Japanese culture than I am, who pointed out that several of these characters have yokai design elements. I don't know what to make of that yet, but it was a really interesting discussion that I hope will get attention in the story. Now, for geography. They name-dropped a few places while discussing both story and design, so this is what I could grasp about Inazuman geography and major attractions. Sissy talked about their pursuit of tranquility in the atmosphere, mixed with geographical choices that represent the instability of Electro. She also cited the hidden spaces inspiration of Studio Ghibli, where they want us to search for the extraordinary behind the ordinary, in tunnels, in wells, in spaces underground. Places like this could be opportunities for us to meet spirits, which are likely Inazuma's version of adepti, since Retracing Belied talks about most mystical beings fleeing to the forests to escape the shogun's suppression. Sissy pointed out a cave in Shugo Forest as a place with a sense of danger everywhere, likely underground as one of these hidden places. Zhao also introduced us to Komore Tea House, owned by a Shibu Ino named Taramaru, whose employees work for him forever. There is a Japanese legend where spirits are sentenced to an eternity of work, which may have inspired this place, and they also described it as hidden. I don't think they mentioned which island either of these are on, but for the rest of the points of interest, we either know or can make pretty good guesses about the location. So island by island, we have Amakane Island, where the sakura blossoms bloom. I think up until now we've been calling this Narukami Island since it has the Grand Shrine and the main Inazuma city. But since Sissy pointed out sakura and fireworks for Amakane, I think this is the official name. It has the port city of Rito, Hanamizaka, where we'll meet Yoimiya, and the capital city, where we'll find Tenshokaku, the shogun's residence. We've also heard quite a bit about the Grand Nakarami Shrine, symbolizing the Electro Archon's protection over the entire region. It's inspired both by sakuras and quaking aspens, where the entire forest is actually one big tree, and it's atop Mount Yugo. Yashiori Island has Musojin Forge, the gape left by the Raiden's sword when she cleaved the giant serpent from Watatsumi Island in 2. We see consistency with Liwa's divinity here, where the serpent's grudge has lingered after its death, spawning something called Tatarigami. The island seems to have developed methods of suppressing and utilizing the Tatarigami, such as mining crystal marrow for crafting swords in Tatarasuna. This is all related to Inazuman legends about the Great Serpent being associated with primitive iron, which I'm sure we'll see in lore descriptions and the quests on Yashiori. Then there's Tataratsuna itself, on Kanazuka Island, where I guess they moved the Tatarigami core to? It's home to the Mikage Furnace, the largest smelting facility in Inazuma, and where we'll do the Tatara questline. They told us outright about the Tatara quests relating to the giant serpent's legacy, which I'm guessing has to do with this thing, since we've seen similar cores in the form of Durin's Heart and Dragon Spine and the Dragon of Chinxa quests. They also showed us these, whatever these are, when talking about suppressing the Tatarigami. Watatsumi Island has unique characteristics, a peculiar landscape, and dreamy colors. It's also housing the Resistance. Sarai Island is constantly enshrouded by thunderstorms, but that's all we know so far, so we can expect to figure it out in quests. Finally, Tsurumi Island has been abandoned for many years, covered in withered branches and leaves that look like thunderbird feathers. I hope this ties into the lore in Thundering Fury artifacts about an ancient thunderbird that destroyed its worshippers for making a human sacrifice because it had been friends with the boy they sacrificed to it. It's just the kind of dark tragedy that I want to see. We only know about the highest level of Inazuman politics, amounting to a couple powerful players. Inazuma is run by the Bakufu, led by the Shogun. The Tri-Commission divvies up responsibilities, where the Tenryou Commission is responsible for the military and, in recent times, the Vision Hunt Decree. The Kanjo Commission protects the borders under the Sakoku Decree and manages finances and customs. Then, the Yashiro Commission manages cultural events, festivals, and shrines, which is why Ayaka doesn't understand why the mysterious ceremony mentioned in the trailer was given to the Tenryou Commission. Unfortunately, this is wartime, and allegiances are split between the Shogun and the Resistance. The Kujo clan seems to have stayed loyal to the Shogun, while at least some members of the Kamisato clan have sided with the citizenry. We don't know what the Hiragi clan is up to. There are 6 new weapons and 2 new artifacts, and they are all part of what looks to me like a Cataclysm-era story. I honestly have to do a lot more research on the names and mythological creatures mentioned, and I'm sure additional tie-ins will crop up, especially in books we get to collect in the overworld, but the gist I caught is that the entire cast is based in the Narukami Shrine 500 years ago. There's a shrine maiden, an immortal Lord Kitsune, who may well be the original patron of the shrine given its fox theme, a warrior with demon blood who fought the Abyss and trained the Kujo clan in swordsmanship, and the Tengu on Mount Yugo who trained him. This narrative sets up history for a major cultural attraction and the family line responsible for the military. So I hope that this is the precedent for really cashing in on those promises of history and folklore bleeding into our exploration experience. I hope this was helpful for digesting the huge lore dump we got in the announcement. It certainly took me some big think to put all of the information together. If my efforts to make Genshin's intricate lore accessible to the greater fanbase is helpful or entertaining for you, I would really appreciate your support in the form of likes, subscribes, or buying me a coffee from my Ko-Fi page. A lot of time and effort goes into all my videos, and with your support, my goal is to get on a schedule that'll put out videos more consistently. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, concerns, criticisms, and requests, and I will see you in Inazuma.